Morning, people. Back again for another stream. Champions League tonight and semi-finals up for grabs. So obviously yesterday Barcelona, although they got beat 3-1 by Borussia Dortmund, I think first leg obviously saw enough to know that Barcelona wasn't gonna let that lead slip. But I think full credit goes to Borussia Dortmund. I think Borussia Dortmund played well in the game. Serhu Guirassy getting a hat-trick as well to make him the outright top scorer in the Champions League. But obviously Borussia Dortmund go out 5-3 on aggregate. Yeah, 5-3 on aggregate. And to be fair, they could be happy with the second leg. And I think Barcelona, in a sense, kind of took their foot off the pedal. But first leg, they done more than enough. And again, a certain Pedri wasn't playing, and for me, he's the key midfielder there. So I think they were resting him, and I think fortunately they got through. The other tie, what a game that was between Aston Villa and PSG. PSG going through in the end, 5-4 on aggregate, and I think you'd have to say that Aston Villa done very well to make an actual game of it in the end, and I think rightfully so. The two best teams, I believe, in the tournaments left in. I think Inter Milan might have something to say about that, but I think the two best teams left in the tournament have rightfully gone through to the semi-final and look on course to meet each other in the final as well. So yeah, I think both teams can be happy with not the result on the night, but the fact that they both got through in the end. And I think, for me, I think that has to be the final. I think that should be the final going forward. And hopefully that is, because I think that'd be a great final between two footballing sides. And as I said, they both look on course. But tonight, guys, Real Madrid and Arsenal. Real Madrid versus Arsenal. So as the title says, can Real Madrid do the unthinkable? And I think Real Madrid are probably the one team in Champions League that you wouldn't want to bet against. I do think being 3-0 up for Arsenal, big up Cena for coming on. I do think being 3-0 up in the first leg, it is a tough ask. But I think if there's one team that can overturn this and have shown, when the going gets tough, they can kind of overcome adversity, and get through, I think Real Madrid are the one team. And as I said before, I think big up Sarah Jordan for coming on as well. Me personally, I think if Real Madrid get a goal in the first 10 minutes, I can see them doing it for sure. I can see it. Big up SC Edits and big up Sarah McLaughlin as well. I can see both teams. I can see Real Madrid overcoming Arsenal. I think if they get a goal in the first 5 or 10 minutes, and I think the way Arsenal are going to play, I think they might sit in a low block. But I believe if Arsenal are to give Real Madrid something to worry about, I think they need to play their normal game and go on the attack. I think if they attack Real Madrid, then I think they might get joy. But I think if they sit back and allow Real Madrid to gain momentum, big up Chino, Iron Moby. Yeah, big up. Guys, as I said, if you do enjoy the stream, if you do like football, wrestling, UFC, boxing, be sure to smash that like button. Obviously, it helps the channel to grow. And again, make sure you subscribe to my channel at GavGoesIn on YouTube. But big up yourselves, everyone, for coming on. And guys, put your questions into the chat as well. Obviously, Arsenal playing Real Madrid tonight at the Bernabeu, second leg. I've got a sneaky feeling for Real Madrid. I don't know why. I think the first leg, it should be definitely Arsenal going through. But I think Real Madrid, if they get a goal in the first 5-10 minutes, then I think, you could see that crowd getting behind them. And I think you will see Real Madrid possibly go through, I would say. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think in terms of Arsenal, as I said, I think Arsenal do need to go on the attack. And I think that, for me, if they do that, they'll probably give Real Madrid problems and give them something to think about. But I think if they sit back in a low block and invite the pressure, I think Real Madrid do have individuals there that can cause problems, a lot of problems. And I would expect them to at least get a couple of goals if that is the case, especially at home. We'll have to wait and see. Big up to number one Man City fan, says, did you see the Villa game last night? We was quite close to winning the game, but we didn't. Listen, Villa can be very happy with their performance. Big up number one Man City fan. Villa can be very happy with their performance. And I think going forwards as well, I think they've shown that they can compete with one of the best teams in the world. And again, Unai Emery, top manager, has won various different titles as well, you know, Europa Leagues. And I think they can be happy that they came back against a PSG team who are ranked as the favourites for the tournament. And I think for Aston Villa, they need to make sure that they get into them top 5 places for Champions League next season. It's going to be a tough ask. But I think going forwards, you know, with Unai Emery, and I think they are going to make some signings as well, I think they can be happy with what they produced yesterday, you know. I think PSG, for me, were always going through. But Aston Villa gave them a scare at the end. So, you know, they can be happy with their campaign in the Champions League for sure. But I think PSG, as I said, for me, I see PSG getting to the final. And obviously they're on course now. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, big up yourself. Big up Chino Oyamobi as well. Is Barcelona winning the Champions League? For me, I had Barcelona winning it from the start. You know, I know yesterday they got beat 3-1. And I think in terms of defensively, I think there are a couple of issues there. But going forwards, as we know, they've got a lot of quality there. You know, there's goals in that front three as well. Midfield, they can control games, dictate with Pedri in there and Frankie de Jong. What I would say is, yeah, I think I'm still going to say Barcelona, but I think then their next 2 games, if it's a Inter Milan, who I believe will beat Bayern Munich, and in the final, if they meet a PSG, their defense is going to need to be a lot better for me, you know. Going forwards, you know, they will get it right eventually. As I said, they got a lot of quality there. Yesterday wasn't one of their greatest games from their attack, but I believe they can win it for sure. Big up Reluctant Gamer. Big up, bro, for coming on each and every time. If Arsenal hold back and not go for 2 goals, I see Real getting 4 goals tonight. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think the first 10 minutes will tell me what I believe Arsenal are going to do. Because I think if Arsenal sit back, they're going to invite the pressure. You know, Real Madrid heritage as well in the Champions League. That crowd behind them, I believe that that they will come on strong, I think. And tonight, it's going to be crucial as well because Rodrigo, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. have to show up. You know, that first leg from them and from Bellingham as well was poor. I think Mbappe was probably their best attacker, but he weren't great. But I think in terms of those 3, if Real Madrid are gonna do anything tonight, those 3 will have to play well, you know, and they're gonna have to show up. You know, I think the balance of those 3 isn't the greatest, but in terms of individual, they're all 3 of them are individual players, and they're gonna need to produce their individual ability tonight for sure. You know, I want to see Arda Güler feature for me a lot more. Whether he does or not, I don't know. But there's no Camavinga tonight as well. Tchouaméni's back, so I expect to see Tchouaméni in that midfield. And I think he might go Tchouaméni and Modric in that midfield with Bellingham. And then the front 3 of Rodrigo, Mbappe and Vinny. And for me, as I said, the first 10 minutes for me is going to be key. Big up Edward Morris. So Edward Morris says, rice, baby. Again, I don't want people getting carried away. Declan Rice, rightfully so, got the plaudits for 2 great free kicks. But for me, this season has been very average, you know. And again, apart from them free kicks, he wasn't the best midfielder for Arsenal, you know. Thomas Partey played very well. And even Mika Marino dropping into that midfield as well was a massive help for that Arsenal midfield. But if Declan Rice can perform tonight in the Bernabeu and help Arsenal to go through, again, it's going to add to his stock. But I think people need to, you know, get their expectations in order, because just because Declan Rice scored 2 great free kicks, and let's get it right, they were 2 great free kicks. I don't want people going overboard in terms of the player that he is, because for me, he's just a good player, but nothing more, you know. And I think some of the revisionism that people have been doing in terms of the free kicks that he scored, for me, is unjustified. Again, 2 great free kicks, but his performances haven't been to the level that many people think they have been from what I've seen. So, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But as I said, how do I see the game going tonight? I think I'm going to say extra time. I think Real Madrid are going to come at the blocks early, you know, and I can see 3-0, a 3-0 normal time going to extra time, you know, and for me, that'll be good because, you know, it'll be an exciting game. And I think Real Madrid, as I said, are the one team that I believe can do this. So, yeah, I think Real Madrid have a good chance. In terms of Arsenal, again, as we know, Arsenal got threats on the break in terms of Bukayo Saka, who will start Martinelli's pace as well. I think Miko Marino again will start as the front man, but again, he's not really playing as a striker. He's playing as the more advanced midfielder. You know, quite similar to what Jude Bellingham was doing before they got Mbappe for Real Madrid. And obviously, Marino helps to crowd out that midfield as well. And I think that if he has a good game and does what he done in the first leg, I think that will go a long way to helping Arsenal go through to the next round. You know, but I just got a sneaky feeling that Real Madrid are going to come up with something. And again, Ancelotti, you know, in these kind of games, this is where Ancelotti earns his money. How do I see both teams lining up? I think for Arsenal, it's pretty obvious how they're going to line up. I don't see too much difference from the first leg. So you can have David Raya in goal, a back 4 of Lewis Skelly at left back, Timber at right back, and then centre backs of Jakob Kivior partnering William Saliba. And then in midfield, again, Partey, Rice and Odegaard. And the front 3 is going to be Saka, Martinelli, and Saka, Martinelli, and what's his name, Mikel Merino for sure. You know, I expect to see that. And then Real Madrid, again, I think they're going to line up very similar. Obviously, Camavinga suspended, but I expect to see Thibaut Courtois in goal. Valverde, I mean, I would play Valverde in midfield for energy with Tchouaméni. You know, I think Modric, again, as great as a player that Modric has been, I think Modric might be better suited coming on, you know, with fresher legs, because I think Arsenal will start pressing Modric. So I think having a bit of energy in that midfield where they're going to need to win the ball back, you know, and get a goal early. You know, you never know. Modric's quality might be telling in the first 10 minutes, but they've got a decision to make because obviously Danny Carvajal's out injured. Obviously, they're getting Trent in the summer. So the only other option is Lucas Vazquez, and they could play Lucas Vazquez at right back and then put. I wonder if Ferland Mendy's actually back. I think Ferland Mendy might be back, and he'll be a big help to Real Madrid's defense and dealing with Saka as well. So it might be Ferland Mendy at left back, Rudiger and Raul Asensio. I think you expect to see him at centre backs. Midfield, which I said will be interesting. You know, I think Tchouaméni comes back into it. And I think if Vazquez is at right back, you might see Valverde in there. But I think Valverde plays right back, if I'm honest, and then he plays Tchouaméni. Dani Ceballos is back, but I think it might be Tchouaméni and Modric, Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vini, Mbappe. That's how they're going to line up. And again, for me, this game comes down to the first 10 minutes, because the intent of Real Madrid and the intent of Arsenal will be clear, which will set the tone for the game, I think. And again, I think if Real Madrid get an early goal, I think Arsenal will be on the back foot. But I think for sure it's going to be a great game and a game to look forward to. 8 p.m. kickoff. But big up, guys. Should I go through some of your comments before we go on to the other game? Big to Pad 22 says he's been good, but not too good. Probably needs to up his game. I agree. As I said, 2 great free kicks, you know, and the first one was class. The second one was even better. But I think in terms of Declan Rice's performances, he's not been worthy of 105 million or ever how much he was bought for. It's not been worthy of that. Nowhere near it. But I think for sure he deserves his credit for them 2 free kicks. But this is the second leg, because if Real Madrid happen to do the unthinkable and come back, no one's going to be talking about this Declan Rice free kick. If Arsenal go out, I think there'll be like a memory thing for him. So we'll have to see if he performs tonight. But again, looking forward to a great game, I believe. Big up BC from Australia. Yeah, big up, man. Thanks for coming on. Guys, as I said, if you do enjoy the stream, check out my other content and make sure you subscribe to my channel at GavGoesIn. And again, guys, make sure you smash that like button and show some support to the channel. So Edward Morris says, was he worthy of 105 mil? Nowhere near it for me. Nowhere near it. I think in today's market, Declan Rice for me is a 60 million pound player, I would say. Nowhere near a 105 million pound player, because 105 million, you're expecting the finished article in terms of someone that is all-rounded in terms of a great passer, which he isn't. Someone that gets goals, which he doesn't get a lot of goals, you know. Yeah, I think for that kind of money, you are expecting someone that is not Declan Rice, personally, you know. So I would say he's a 60 million pound player, but again, he's still got that to prove for me. But big up yourself. So Gamer says, Real Madrid after 80th minute is hard to play against, especially when Real Madrid are attacking consistently to get something out of the game. They could score 2 to 3 goals at the end. Arsenal got a score. Yeah, I think in terms of being hard to play against after the 80th minute, I think it depends what the score is, because if they haven't scored after 80 minutes, then I mean, you wouldn't expect Real Madrid to go through, even the heritage that they have. You'd expect Arsenal just to secure that. But as I said, I think, you know, the first 10 minutes for me is going to be telling. And I think, as I said, if Real Madrid get a goal, I think you're going to see the crowd get involved, you know, and really put the pressure on Arsenal for me. So we'll have to wait and see. But big up yourself. BC says Madrid will win the 16th. I'm in Australia, so don't take me serious. Yeah, big up BC, man. Do you know what? I wouldn't bet against Real Madrid, put it that way. But I've said all along, you know, Barcelona for me win the Champions League this season. And I think a Barca PSG final is what I would like to see in terms of the quality of football. But I've got a sneaky feeling for Real Madrid. I don't know why. I think if Real Madrid were away from home at the Emirates, then I'd say game over. But I think at the Bernabeu, I've seen too many things with Real Madrid. You know, Arsenal are firmly in the driving seat, you know, and if they was to give it away, then they've only got themselves to blame. But I don't know why, but I see Real Madrid doing the unthinkable, as I said in my title, you know. But big up yourself. Pad 22 says, I think Arsenal would need to score first and then they'll have the momentum. Yeah, I think if Arsenal get the first goal, then I would say it's game over for me, for sure. As much as Real Madrid, you know, will be thinking, you know, there's still to play for. I think if Arsenal get an early goal or get the first goal, I think it's safe to say that that's the tie over, you know. So yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Big up Anjali Singh Chibe. Big up Judy Lean as well. Big up Black from the waist down. A rigged game like every game, bro. You know what? I know what you mean, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think one thing's for certain though. I think the referee, you know, will be giving Real Madrid probably a lot more than he does give to other teams, I would say, you know, which is might be quite controversial. That's what we're here for. I think anytime a Real Madrid player goes down, you're going to see the ref probably favour Real Madrid. And I think the players will be knowing that as well. The fans will be knowing that, so they'll be getting on top of the ref. But as I said, Arsenal are in the driving seat, so they need to be clever in terms of how they set up, in terms of how they manage the game. And if they don't and Real Madrid come back, then, as I said, I think they've only got themselves to blame, really. But again, it's going to be an interesting game. But guys, moving on, Bayern versus Inter. I'm not going to touch too long on this. But for me, I've said all along, Inter Milan were my dark horses for the Champions League. You know, I think in terms of defence, they've got the best defence in the competition. I think they've got players in their team where many fans around the world probably won't take too much to their lineup, but they're for me are a solid team. I think they're probably the best team, I would say, in the competition in terms of how they're set up in the 3-5-2. You know, how they defend as well is crucial, and I think they've got the best defense in the tournament. I think, if I'm right, I think they've only conceded something like 7 goals, which is crazy, you know. And I do expect them to go through against Barcelona, against Bayern Munich. Again, Bayern Munich have got key injuries for me as well. There's no Manuel Neuer, no Deo Upamecano, no Jamal Musiala, and no Alphonso Davies. And I think, I don't think all 4 of them players are starters for Bayern Munich. And I know they've got Harry Kane, Leroy Sané, Michael Olise, you know, Joshua Kimmich. But I think with Inter Milan's defence, I don't see them being penetrated, if I'm honest. I think they'll hang on, especially being at home as well. And as I said, guys, you know, I'm a massive fan of Harry Kane in terms of Harry Kane, the footballer. You know, I think as a footballer, he's a very good footballer. And obviously his numbers can't be argued. But the one mark against Harry Kane's name is that whenever it's time for Harry Kane to prove why he is spoken about as being one of the best strikers, if not the best striker in the world right now, he has to show it in these kind of games, regardless of the injuries. You know, he has to stand up and take notice, you know. And I've seen too many times, whether it be the Euro final, World Cup semi-final, Champions League final, I've seen all too many times Harry Kane doesn't do that. And tonight he's got a chance, you know, to drag Bayern Munich to the Champions League semi-final. And the pressure will be on him, you know, regardless of the injuries. You know, he has to do something for me in this game to show why he is spoken about so highly. And whether he does that or not, I don't know. But I think that question mark will still hang over his head. I mean, he's in contention to win his first league title, but again, Bayern Munich, you know, do win league title, apart from obviously last season where Bayer Leverkusen won it. But Bayern are always up there, so it's not really a massive achievement that Harry Kane does win the Bundesliga, because they've won it before him and they win it after him. I think the Champions League's the one for me, and he has to play his part tonight in overcoming a stubborn defence of Inter Milan, which, again, I can see Inter Milan going through. You know, as I say, the back three of Bastoni. You've got Stefan De Vrij, who didn't play, but you've got a Serbi. You know, those guys are solid at the back there with Jan Sommer in goal. Obviously, Nicola Barella, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Henrik Mkhitaryan, ex-Man United and Arsenal in the midfield. Then you've got obviously the front two of Lautaro Martinez, top scorer, and the captain, and then Marcus Thuram, you know. So they have got a solid team there. And as I said, I expect them to hang on and go through. You know, I can even see it being a 0-0, a 1-0 Inter Milan, you know. But if Bayern was to overturn it, then again, Bayern would have fully deserved it, because this Inter Milan defence is no joke, you know. And if they do go through, Barcelona, or if they was to meet a Real Madrid, Arsenal, PSG in the final, they're going to have a tough time overcoming that defense. So I think Inter Milan are the team to watch. But as I said, I'd like to see a Barca PSG final, or even a Barca Real Madrid final. El Clasico in the Champions League final would be great as well. But they've got to do their work tonight against Arsenal. And we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, yes, guys, big up yourselves for coming on. As I said, if you do enjoy the content, make sure you check out my other content on my channel and subscribe to my channel at GavGoesIn. And again, guys, make sure you are smashing that like button to help the channel grow. So we're going to move on. Obviously, I done the stream yesterday. Obviously, Wrestlemania, WWE Wrestling, if you didn't know. Obviously, over the next 2 days on Saturday and Sunday. Some good matchups coming up. And if you do like WWE Wrestling, be sure to check out my my predictions on the matches on Saturday. And again, they're in chapters, guys. So if you just want to skip forward to the chapters and have a look at what I predict, there are some interesting things on there as well, which I think could happen. You know, WrestleMania always draws up some surprises, you know, and as I said, some of the matchups there, I think there's going to be some surprises for sure, man. I believe, you know, I could be wrong, but I think there might be some twists and turns at WrestleMania. But anyway, we're going to go through Sunday's matches, you know, for sure. So we're going to start off with Logan Paul, social media sensation, against, for me, one of the best wrestlers of his generation, AJ Styles. How do I see this going? For me, AJ Styles wins this. You know, I'm surprised AJ Styles hasn't had a WWE championship run. You know, I know he came back quite recently actually from being off for a little while, but I can see AJ Styles overcoming Logan Paul. You know, for me personally, it wouldn't sit right that Logan Paul does beat an AJ Styles anyway. But to be fair, Logan Paul is very athletic, you know, and I believe that, you know, he has the potential to win this fight, to win this match. But I think AJ Styles with his phenomenal forearm or his Styles clash will get the job done eventually. And again, I've done my predictions for Saturday and Sunday, and I'm quite confident that I will get literally the majority of them right. Big up TJ, big up for coming on. I think I'm going to get all my predictions, majority of them right. I'll be surprised if I get any of them wrong, if I'm honest. And what I would say, guys, as I said, check out my content from yesterday, my predictions, and then we can go through it to see if I've got it right or wrong. Next up, women's division. Obviously, yeah, TJ, I watch MMA, bro. Yeah, I do, man. UFC. I'm a fan of UFC, WWE, wrestling, boxing, and of course football. So yeah, if you've got any questions to put in, make sure you put that in the chat. As I said, like I more watched the UFC from back in the day. You know, I'm not too up to date with what's going on at the moment, but there are a few fighters that I am aware of. But yeah, make sure to put that in the chat section anyway. So Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. How do I see this one going? I think Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez hang on to their belts, and I'll tell you why. I think yeah, TJ, you bring out some names now. Yeah, you bring out some serious names. I will get back to your comments, to your questions, sorry. Once I finish talking about what I have to. But big up yourselves. I think Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez hold on to their titles. And the reason I believe that is because I think Bayley is going to double cross Lyra Valkyria. Because I think Lyra Valkyria is the... What is she? She's the... What belt has she got? She's got the women's belt. Not the main women's belt. I think it's like the Intercontinental belt or something like that on the women's version. And I think Bayley might be a bit frustrated that she's not a champ. and the fact that Lyra Valkyria beat her as well. And I've got a feeling that she's going to attack Lyra Valkyria, which is going to enable Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to retain the titles. And I think you might see Bayley become a heel as well. That's my prediction. If you think I'm wrong, guys, then as I said, make sure you put your questions in there. But I can see that's how it's gonna go. Bron Breakker versus Penta, El Cero Miedo versus Finn Balor, Vince versus Dominik Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. Who do I think's gonna win this? You know what? This might actually shock you, and it's gonna shock me as well. I think Dominik Mysterio is gonna win this. Crocodile Dundee, bloody hell, that's taking it back, man. That's taking it back. Paul Hogan. I think Dominik Mysterio is gonna win this, and I'll tell you why. I think it's a case because I think Finn Balor is expected to win the championship. I believe, obviously being part of Judgment Day, and obviously Dominik Mysterio. You know, you can tell he's a bit out of his depth. You know, he's not really a great wrestler for me. Nothing like his father, but I think he's gonna win it. And then because he's got the belt, it's gonna be a power struggle in the Judgment Day. I believe. You know, I could be wrong. You know, I think Penta El Cero Miedo, you know, I think he's a great wrestler, you know, high flyer. Bron Breakker as well has been dominant. Finn Balor, for me, is a very good wrestler as well. But I just think Dominik Mysterio, I've got a sneaky feeling there's going to be a twist and he's going to win it. And then, as I say, there's going to be a power struggle for, the, yeah, there'll be a power struggle for me for control of the Judgment Day. That's what I'm going to say. But guys, big up. I'm going to go into some of your questions. Big up everyone's questions as well, each and every time. So, let's go. So, big up Adorma says, Mike or Muhammad Ali? So I'm guessing you mean Mike Tyson. I would have to say Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson was more in my era. Obviously, Muhammad Ali will go down as one of the greatest, you know, of all time. But for me, Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson was at his peak, you know, Mike Tyson was unbeatable. The guy was an absolute animal. The youngest world heavyweight champ. I believe he was, 18, 19, I believe, you know. And Mike Tyson was just knocking out everyone, man. He was frightening. And again, Muhammad Ali wasn't really in my era, but so I can't really judge that too much. But in terms of when you mention the boxing greats, you know, Muhammad Ali is always in the question. He's always in the answer. So yeah, big up Muhammad Ali. But I'd have to say Mike Tyson, because I saw more of Mike Tyson. But big up Adorma. TJ says BJ Penn, Frank Mir era. Yep, definitely, man. So you know, there's loads of fighters in that era. Obviously the likes of Cain Velasquez as well, and Fabrizio Verdum in the heavyweight. You know, there's probably more that I forgot. What's his name? TJ, if you can, man, help me out with some of the names. I forgot. Obviously the Anderson Silvers, you know, Georges St. Pierre. There's loads of fighters back in the era, man. Obviously Brock Lesnar as well. But yeah, there's loads of names. But big up yourself. Let's see. So TJ says Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano prediction. Ooh, that's a tough one. That is tough. Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. I'm not too sure, to be fair. I'd probably say, I'm gonna say just Katie Taylor. Just Katie Taylor. And whether that sets up a fight with Clarissa Shields, I don't know, but that's gonna be a good fight. Taylor versus Serrano. But I'd say just Katie Taylor. Yeah, just Katie Taylor. But big up, man. Big up, some great questions in there. So big up. Jay says, what about Copa del Rey? Who's gonna win? El Clasico. I mean, you wouldn't want to bet against Barcelona. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because both Barca and Real Madrid can both do a treble. Funny enough, I know Real Madrid are up against it against Arsenal today, and again they're second in the league. I think they're 4 points behind Barcelona. They could actually win a treble this season. Yeah, Mark Hunt. Yeah, big up, man. If I was to put my hat on it, I'd say Barcelona. So I could see Barca winning the treble, the league, Champions League, and the Copa del Rey. But then, in a sense, I can see them, maybe winning just two. I think the league title, I think they'll win. Champions League, if they come up against a PSG or even a Real Madrid or an Arsenal, I expect them to be Arsenal, but Real Madrid or PSG, you never know. And then obviously Real Madrid in the final of Copa del Rey. Again, it's anyone's game really, but I'm gonna say Barcelona for sure, man, because that's my team along with Man United. So TJ says Hardy Boys were it back in the day, very underrated. Listen, when it was the Attitude Era of the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, Team 3D or the Dudley Boys, that's when wrestling was at its most exciting for me. Obviously that TLC triple threat match was mad, and this is where legends were created, and obviously both Edge and Christian went on their solo runs, but for me they were better as a team. Hardy's, obviously Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy are now in TNA. Obviously both of them were in AEW as well. But yeah, legendary tag teams, man, for sure. The Hardy Boys. So yeah, but that era, Attitude Era of Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley Boys. If you didn't see it, guys, make sure you go back on YouTube and watch some clips, man. I remember when Edge speared Jeff Hardy from the ladder, from the top rope. There were some mad times, and obviously Edge had major success in WWE. Obviously, he's now in AEW, and if you watch AEW, he's just been attacked by what are they called again? FTR, obviously former friends. So yeah, man, he's had a great run in WWE, now on AEW. But yeah, Hardy Boys, man, yeah, they were a very good tag team, high flyers. But big up. Reluctant Gamer says Shawn White Phillips or Raheem Sterling. For me, that's not really a hard one. For me, Shawn White Phillips. Raheem Sterling, for me, is a great footballer. He's someone at Man City, if we talk about Man City, because that's where he more or less took off at Man City. He was someone for me that, he was someone for me that had a great career, had a great career, but owed it a lot to the system at Man City. Liverpool, he was more exciting with the Sturridge and Luis Suarez combination there. And then Chelsea didn't really do anything, and the same with Arsenal. So for me, Shawn White Phillips, for sure. Guys, I will get back to your questions. Trying to finish off on what I've got, the last couple of last couple of fights or matchups, should I say. I'll get back onto the questions before we wrap. So next, the street fight between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Scottish Warrior versus, basically, he's the clone from Undertaker, really. He's Undertaker's his idol, you can tell, Damian Priest. And how do I think this fight's going to go? Well, for one thing, it's going to be a vicious fight. It's going to be a very, very good fight. I can see Damian Priest winning it. I can see Damian Priest overcoming Drew McIntyre. And it wouldn't surprise me if these two have a long running feud, back and forth, I think these two guys, obviously both of them have been champs already. They might get a push again to be champions in the future. But I think I can see their rivalry not ending here. But I'm going to say Damian Priest wins this one. Triple threat women's title, Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley. Now, this for me is going to be interesting. One thing I would say, is that Io Sky is not going to retain her title. That's one thing that's for certain, I believe. Bianca Belair, obviously, she's obviously had a tough time where obviously she was teaming with both Naomi and Jade Cargill, who are both bitter enemies now. And she's obviously gone to singles now, back into singles rather than a tag team champ, where they lost their belts to Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. But I think it's tough because I don't know whether it's Bianca Belair or Rhea Ripley, because Rhea Ripley lost the belt to Io Sky, and then, but obviously there was interference from Bianca Belair, which obviously now is a triple threat match. It's just whether they're going to push Rhea Ripley as a champ again, you know. She's got a massive profile, Rhea Ripley, very popular. And for me, I think Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, possibly Tiffany Stratton. You know, I know Charlotte Flair is obviously at the end. I think they're the future for the women's division, those four. I think, yeah, Jade Cargill for me, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Tiffany Stratton. I think those four are the four that everyone's probably looking at as the main four, I would say. That's going to be the future of the women's division. Obviously, Charlotte Flair will have a lot to say about that. The same with Bayley. Obviously, what's her name? Forgot her name now. Help me out, guys. The one with the ginger hair, I forgot her name. Seth Rollins' wife. I forgot her name. I can't remember her name. I think she out injured at the moment, or I know she had a baby, but I think they might have something to say about it. Oh, Becky Lynch, that's the one, Becky Lynch. So I think they might have something to say about it, but I think the future is in safe hands with those four. You know, Jade Cargill for sure is going to be a champ for me very soon, and then Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Tiffany Stratton, who's champ now. Again, I think those guys will be battling it. But I think, who am I going to say? I think Rhea Ripley is gonna win the belt back. You know, but I definitely think Io Sky won't be champ. But I think I was gonna say Bianca Belair, but I don't know what they've got in plan for Bianca Belair. So I think it might be Rhea Ripley. So I'm gonna say Rhea Ripley, but I think it could be either Rhea Ripley or Bianca Belair. But I don't think Io Sky retains the title. And then the last match, which is obviously arguably the most crucial match of all over the both days. You know, I know the triple threat is the main event, and rightfully so. And this one is arguably the main event, or could be slightly bigger in terms of what's at stake. And that's Cody Rhodes against John Cena. Now, John Cena has a chance to overtake Ric Flair and become the outright, you know, most times held the WWE Championship. Obviously, Hill Cena as well now. Obviously, teaming up with the Rock, Dwayne Johnson, in backstabbing Cody Rhodes. And again, Cody Rhodes, massive fan favorite. I would say at this moment in time, if you're looking at the top two fan favorites, you're looking at probably Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso in terms of popularity. And, you know, obviously Cody Rhodes winning the title from at WrestleMania from Roman Reigns, you know. And again, guys, I do believe Roman Reigns, again, if you do check my my stream from yesterday, I do believe Roman Reigns is going to have another title push. You know, I do believe he wins the triple threat match. For this match, I think Cody Rhodes' reign is over. I think John Cena wins it and wins his 17th title and breaks Ric Flair's record. That's how I see it going. Yeah, that's how I see it going. For me, I don't know if there's going to be an interference. I'm not too sure, because I'm looking at who could possibly interfere. I mean, the obvious one is The Rock, but I mean, they're going to want to create something dramatic if that was to happen. And I don't see The Rock coming out, because We already know that The Rock is not on Cody Rhodes' side anyway. Something interesting could happen. I'm not sure what, but I do believe that John Cena does win his 17th title. Yeah, so I'm going to go John Cena, you know, and going forwards, as I said, whether there's going to be a rematch between the two, I don't know. But going forwards, I think, as I said, you're going to see Roman Reigns, for me, have another push at that title. That's going to be held by John Cena for me. So, but yeah, that's how I see it going, guys. Just going to go on to a few of your questions before we wrap. But big up everyone for your comments. Big up everyone for tuning into the stream as well. So TJ says Frankie Edgar. Yep, Frankie Edgar. What's his name? Chad Mendes, TJ Dillashaw. What's his name that was in that division? What's the California kid? I forgot his. Oh, Uriah Faber. Yeah, big up everyone. Sorry about that, man. Just the phone just happened to freeze for some reason. But just gonna go through some of the questions before we wrap. So Scorpion 9's TBTS says no defense or no egos. Big up, man. But of course, no defense. I wonder who that is, man. But yeah, big up yourself, man. But definitely no defense, man. No egos. I'm not too sure who that is, but we don't recognize that kind of team. So but yeah, definitely no defense, man. But big up yourself. So TJ says, love Katie, but think Amanda will nick it this time. You reckon? Listen, that's going to be a great fight. As I said, Amanda Serrano is good, you know. And again, it could go either way, but I'm just going to say Katie Taylor. But big up, man. I think Clarissa Shields could come down to fight Katie Taylor. I know they was trying to oh no, I'm thinking of someone else. I'm thinking of Savannah Marshall. Sorry, my bad. Not Clarissa Shields for that fight. Sorry, that's Paul. So Manchester United, but I also love Barcelona just throughout the years. The kind of players that Barcelona had, you know, Ronaldinho, Neymar, Messi, Rivaldo, Romario.